The eruption of Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii's final moments. In the year 79 AD, the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum thrived along the Bay of Naples, nestled in the vibrant region of Campania in southern Italy. Pompeii was a bustling commercial hub with a population ranging from 6,400 to 30,000, while Herculaneum was an exclusive, quieter retreat, favored by the Roman elite. The grandeur of Herculaneum's villas and Pompeii's bustling markets made these cities symbols of Rome's prosperity and elegance. But by the end of that fateful year, both cities lay buried under meters of volcanic ash and mud, a haunting testament to one of history's deadliest natural disasters, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. The people of first-century Campania had little reason to worry about Vesuvius. It had been silent for over 1,000 years, its fertile landscape producing abundant fruits, vegetables and vineyards, while the sea nearby provided a wealth of seafood. Prosperity seemed guaranteed, with Pompeii exporting its surplus of wine and produce across the Mediterranean, and both cities attracting elites from all over Rome. Even the common folk enjoyed a nutritious diet thanks to the bountiful harvests. Life was so stable here that even the occasional earthquake, like the one that struck in 62 or 63 AD, was seen as merely inconvenient. Though the quake caused significant damage in Pompeii, people carried on, rebuilding their lives and homes. They had no idea that this seismic unrest might be a warning, a harbinger of doom looming over them. Then came the fateful day of the eruption, a day that dawned like any other. The exact date is debated. Traditionally, it's marked as August 24th, based on the account of Pliny the Younger, who, 25 years after the event, wrote letters to the historian Tacitus describing the eruption. But recent discoveries, including autumnal fruits and coins found in the ruins, suggest it may have occurred in October. Regardless of the exact day, what unfolded was beyond anything the people of Campania could have imagined. At around midday, Pliny, then living with his uncle Pliny the Elder near Misenum, spotted a dark, towering cloud rising above the mountains, a strange, mushroom-like shape reaching into the sky. Pliny the Elder, a revered naturalist and commander of the imperial fleet, decided to investigate. But just as he was setting off, he received a desperate message from a friend in Stabiae, pleading for help. What began as a scientific curiosity turned into a rescue mission as Pliny gathered warships and set sail across the bay. As the fleet approached, they encountered burning debris raining down and toxic gases filling the air. Despite his pilot's pleas to turn back, Pliny pressed onward, famously saying, "Fortune favors the brave." Tragically, Pliny the Elder never returned, perishing in his attempt to save others. That cloud, which Pliny described as a pine tree reaching skyward, was in fact a towering column of ash, rocks, pumice, and toxic gases. It rose over 30 kilometers into the sky, drifting southeast towards Pompeii. The sun was soon blotted out, plunging the city into darkness so thick that survivors later compared it to a pitch-black room with a snuffed-out lamp. Hours passed, and the rain of ash and pumice intensified, burying buildings, streets, and any inhabitants who hadn't escaped. Though Herculaneum initially lay outside the main path of destruction, many of its citizens realized the danger and fled. For those who stayed, it would be a fatal decision. Excavations in the 1980s unearthed hundreds of skeletons, people who had huddled in boathouses near the shore, seeking safety, only to be overtaken by the final, unstoppable wave. The eruption's first phase, now called a Plinian eruption in Pliny's honor, concluded as the massive ash column began to collapse. This initiated the second phase, a series of deadly pyroclastic flows, superheated clouds of volcanic gases and ash traveling at hundreds of miles per hour. The first of these flows devastated Herculaneum, wiping out anything in its path, leaving behind nothing but death and silence. Pompeii held on a few hours longer, but by 6:30 a.m. the next day, it too was struck. Buildings that had withstood the night crumbled under the weight of accumulated ash and pumice, and as the pyroclastic surges roared into Pompeii, they enveloped everything in their path. Pliny's account continues with his escape from Misenum and a chilling description of the chaos. You could hear the shrieks of women, the cries of children, the shouts of men, some calling for their children, others for their parents, seeking to recognize each other by their voices. Some raised their hands to the gods. The greater part were convinced that there were no gods at all. And yet, the night did end. When the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, they revealed a landscape unrecognizable. As the dust settled, every object was covered in a thick layer of ash, creating a desolate scene that seemed like a world turned to stone. The eruption likely continued for days or even weeks, with up to 20 surges spreading destruction across the region. Estimates of the death toll are imprecise, but thousands perished in the disaster. Archaeologists have uncovered more than 1,400 bodies in Pompeii alone, with about 25% of the city still unexcavated. Many victims were found indoors, likely succumbing to suffocation or collapse, while others died instantly from the searing heat of the pyroclastic flows. For those caught in these flows, the thermal shock was so severe that they died within seconds, their bodies preserved in grotesque detail. The hollows left behind when the bodies decomposed have allowed archaeologists to create hauntingly detailed plaster casts of the victims, capturing their final moments for eternity. At Herculaneum, closer to Vesuvius, the heat was even more intense. Some victims were exposed to temperatures so high that their blood and brains may have vaporized. In one extraordinary case, intense heat transformed a man's brain matter into glass, a process scientists are still studying today. In the aftermath, Emperor Titus provided aid to the devastated region, even visiting Campania himself and granting funds from the imperial treasury. But Pompeii and Herculaneum could not be rebuilt. Yet, contrary to popular belief, they weren't completely forgotten. Tunnels were later carved through the ash of Pompeii. Whether by looters or former residents seeking lost belongings remains a mystery. The cities even appeared on medieval maps, ensuring they wouldn't fade entirely from memory. Mount Vesuvius still looms ominously over Naples, one of Europe's most dangerous active volcanoes. Modern monitoring and evacuation plans are in place, but if a similar eruption were to happen today, the lives of over 3 million people could be at risk, and Naples might face the same fate as its ancient counterparts. The eruption that obliterated Pompeii and Herculaneum ultimately preserved them in time. Thanks to the tragic preservation of these cities, we have an unparalleled glimpse into Roman life, a haunting record of a world caught in a fleeting moment. Through these ruins, Mount Vesuvius still speaks, a constant reminder of nature's power and the fragility of human life.